He is part of the 20-year reunion for the 2005 Penn State football team, also part of the 2008 Big Ten champs. So he's part of two championship teams for the blue and white. He went from a walk-on to graduating as Penn State's all-time leading receiver, chosen in the third round by the Seattle Seahawks, and perhaps more importantly, has a career now in cyber forensics. So we can't wait to dissect and go into that. Deon Butler, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. So look, your impact on the football field is well documented, Deon, but we've seen a lot of video of you making presentations and speeches to young people and talking to them about different things. Where does that come from, and what have you taken from your experiences at Penn State that you can use as you give messages to the younger generation?
Well, I think a lot of it too, right, started at Penn State is just as far as us giving back to youth, right? Like at Penn State, we did a lot for the community there. So you already had that mindset of kind of you're a role model to a lot of kids, a lot of people in that area, and what can you do to make a positive impact? So carrying that with me, once I got into my cybersecurity career, it was just kind of a natural thing, right? There's a lot of people who are interested, right? Cybersecurity is like a new hot thing, but people are interested. How exactly do I get started in that? Can I do it if I'm coming from this type of background, or what are some of the different things that I should do to set myself up for it? So me doing a lot of what I do now, especially for the youth, you think about at that age, people just want to know, give me some advice, give me some guidance. And like I said, a lot of that I'm passionate about, and a lot of that starts from before at Penn State when you're already in that mindset of being a role model to kids and to other people and being a leader in that space.
So, Deon, going back to 2005, in the spring of '05, some of us as coaches started to realize how much speed and explosive talent we had on that team. At what point during the '05 season, because there weren't a lot of expectations for that team, at what point did you and your teammates sense that this was going to be something special?
I think it was that Northwestern game for me, right? Like obviously we had a couple early games where some of the freshmen were being thrown out there and a couple catches here and there and some things, but you always heard, well, this is not Big Ten play. This is not Big Ten play yet, right? We have been going against our defense, so we knew, that we had time, but you still gotta take it out onto the field. So obviously that Northwestern game, and right, everybody knows about the fourth down. And so that situation that we put ourselves in to stay consistent, to stay level-headed, that was just as big as making plays as it was the situational football that we were put in. And that was like, hey, guys, one, we're still running around making plays, right? I remember Justin having a big play, Derek, obviously, and just some of the young guys. Jordan came on a lot in that game from an offensive standpoint. But it was just one of those things where, like, situationally, I think we saw how mentally tough we were, right? To be in the fourth quarter of a game like that and to stick through and come out on top like that. And that's when I think it really hit us of like, hey guys, we can be something special here. And I think some of the seniors, even on defense, right, scraps-led defense, I think some of those seniors like, all right, these little pups running around on offense, we might be able to do something with these guys. So, yeah.
Hey, Deon, Scrap, good to see you. Hey, you showed up to Penn State as a walk-on after turning down so many other offers. What gave you that confidence to believe in what you could do at this level?
That's a lot of it, honestly. Coach Johnson, Coach Norwood, right? Coach Larry Johnson, Coach Brian Norwood, those guys that came to recruit me, just kind of like keeping me level headed up, just like, hey, man, what you've done in high school, like watching your tape, seeing what you do, if you just carry that over, to what you do here, like I've seen it, you can do it, right? Obviously, at that point in time, I was instilling, right, a smaller guy, so a lot of the questions around me were size and things like that. So it was just kind of like a battle with me mentally of like, all right, everybody tells me you're good, but you're not quite big enough. So how am I going to be able to do that? So Coach Johnson gave a lot of confidence and just like, hey, I've been here, I've seen this, you can do it, trust me. And then being able to go out on the practice field and, Scrap, I started on your side of the ball, right? Scout team out there, Jay was yelling at us, doing stuff. But, that was a big thing, too, as far as that scout team and starting to make plays there and just seeing like, hey, you belong. You're not just getting ran past. You're not just, being overwhelmed power-wise and things like that. So that scout team year starting on defense was really a big part of kind of really letting me know, like, hey, no, you belong. You can do this. You belong here.
Deon, that 2008 team was really one of the best teams for me to cover. I really enjoyed that. And unlike 2005, there were expectations for you guys because you had so much talent. And the spread HD offense really, kind of just electrified everything. And it still ranks as one of the top 10 offenses in some of the categories in the Big Ten. What made you guys so dangerous? It seemed like it was so hard to just focus on one guy. But what do you think made you so dangerous and explosive for that year's team?
I mean, I think that year, as they would say, Jay was in his bag that year, right? Like, man, we had been around so long, I guess, right? The Jordans, myself, Derek, we had been around. We had pretty much seen every situation. So I think that gave a lot of confidence to the coaches on offense of like, hey, we can open up and do different things, different wrinkles. Daryl was great, right? He was almost before his time with the dual threat as far as really being able to throw and be a pocket passer and run. And then we had some good young offensive running backs, and the line was good. So I think just that senior laden like wide receiver room, Daryl was very, very good at quarterback. And I just think that gave so much confidence to the coaches on offense to be able to open up the playbook and give us new looks, because there were things I feel like they were coming up with as the year went on. And it was just kind of like, well, hey, let's try this. And they were confident. They're like, hey, we can throw that to them, and they'll adjust to it. They'll pivot. And yeah, to your point, you couldn't just focus on one person. The second you started focusing on one guy, another guy was, wide open. I remember the beginning of the year, I think there was a lot of focus on the outside, and I want to say it's Oregon State. Jordan destroyed Oregon State. They thought they were just going to leave him in the slot with a safety. Yeah, good luck. And so it was like, that was kind of one of the first things we were just like, hey, man, this offense, you've got to like figure it out as far as who you want to try to limit, who you want to stop. And we just kept coming at people with all different angles.
So I'm going to shift topic. That '08 season, you were kind of a mellow guy. And before we played in the shoe at Ohio State, this video, and it's still out there, emerges of you showing an intensity that, it took me 2 weeks to figure out, is that really Deon in there? Where did that passion suddenly emerge for that game? Like, where did that come from?
I think a lot of the guys that have been around me, to your point, know I'm very mellow, but I'm also one of like, he's not a punk or anything. He's just mellow. He's just chill. And that was one of those things, right? Being a senior on that team, I kind of revert back to when I was a freshman and we had those fiery guys, scrap nose like AZ, who's still there now. Like those guys who were like, hey, man, when it's time to set the tone, they would set the tone, right? And so, and forward into that, we were seniors, and I think a lot of like our next big talent guys were those younger guys from those younger classes. I know on offense, like Evan Royster was we were counting on him, Stephon Green at running back. But it was a lot of guys that I felt like when we were going in there, they were kind of looking around like, oh, wow, this is Ohio State, and kind of bright lights. And it was just kind of like, I need to set the tone. Like, because we're going to count on you guys, right? Because we had, like I said, a lot of offensive young talent. And it was just one of those things where, like, let me set the tone. Like, let me set the tone as far as, like, yeah, we're here. I don't care what they got going. We belong here. This is our show. And that's kind of where that fire came from. Just like, let me set the tone and make sure these young guys really know, like, no, we belong here. This is nothing to be afraid of. This is what we do.
Well, I just stepped back when you started that talk on the sideline. I didn't know what was coming next, if helmets were going to fly. I wasn't sure what was happening. I just backed off on that one. When I saw you get going, I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. But, hey, listen, since this is the weekend for the 2005 reunion, what are some of the things that stick out to you all these years later?
Oh, man. Once again, like this, the senior laden team that we had, man, I just think about that defense and being a freshman going through that, trial by fire, Calvin Lowry, AZ, Anwar. There's plenty of other guys, obviously, plus Lesney on defense and Connor. Like those, but it was just, the defense was so strong and they had already solidified themselves. So I just remember being like the young guy coming in, kind of them teaching us, them beating us in practice, and then teaching us again what it was like. And then us just like getting our footing right? Myself, Justin, Derek, kind of just focusing on the wideouts, and Jordan. We were just kind of like trying to figure it out week by week, but like each week we just kept getting better, and we just kept thinking like, man, if they think, I always remember we always used to say like, if Derek would make a play, they'd be like, man, that was good, watch me. And we all had that mentality of like, if y'all thought that was great, watch me. and everybody just competed that way. So that '05 team, I just think about like the meshing of that senior class and those freshman guys and all of that coming together and just the hypeness around campus. Obviously, right, getting the winning season back going was a really good thing. So those are the things that really stick out to me. I think about like bowl game, doing the ESPN photo shoots as a freshman and kind of that whole like media thing, right? We weren't a big like let's do a whole bunch of media stuff, right? You already know Coach Paterno was kind of, hey, let's get that out the way and let's go play football. So they're kind of meshing that because, right, we got a lot of publicity. Penn State is back and everybody wanted to be there. All these cameras wanted to be there. So just kind of remember kind of handling that and also being like a freshman, like, wow, this is big time football here, man. This is crazy.
I thought you were going to say the jet ski.
Oh, man.
We'll leave with that.
That one definitely sticks out too, man. That is a memory of like, hey, man, I always make sure jet skis are gassed up before I go out in the ocean.
I remember that, covering that, and they were like, we got everybody, I think, but Deon coming back yet from the jet ski incident. Hey, Jay was going to ask you got them all talking about 2005 and '08. He was going to ask you about cyber forensics. So I want to ask you about that in particular because you go, and I love to see the trajectory, Deon, of young guys and where they end up career-wise. You know, you go from a young freshman who said kind of chill, then intense in certain moments. You know, what about you and your personality and that career worked out? What do you like about cyber forensics? What's the best part of it for you, and what kind of sparked you to go that direction?
Well, the one thing I'll start off with that sparked me to go in that direction, right? When I was at Penn State, I did forensic science, kind of your traditional crime scenes, murders, bullet trajectory. And we would have classes that were, if you recover a laptop and it was digital forensics, or a phone and people think they erased stuff. And how do you go back in and get that information off of the phone or the laptop? And I thought that was really, really cool. And I was like, man, I want to circle back to that whenever, we get into it or whenever football is done. So then that's kind of what drove me to that, and kind of the breach at Target was a big thing. And that was literally just people had to go back and find out, how did someone get into our network digitally, like digital forensics? How did they get into our network and figure that out? And that's what led me towards cybersecurity and getting a master's in cybersecurity when football was done. So that's what drove me towards that. And then as far as like my, demeanor and attitude, right? I can't do an Ohio State speech with my people at work right now, right? I can't get them hyped that way when we're about to make some network changes or anything. But it's been really good, like the leadership that you learn. Right? You're around so many other great people. When I was at Penn State, right? I'm on here, obviously, Coach Paterno, Coach Scrap, and it's just like those were guys that had already been leaders at Penn State for so long and have been other places as well. And it's like you learn different leadership styles. You learn how to connect with people. You have hundreds of some teammates at Penn State, and I am so big on like sports teaching you so much on leadership. So me now being in a leadership role and I have a team of 8. It's just like you have to learn how to connect with people, right? And that's just something, these guys on here can tell you, right? You got so many different people have different motivations and things like that. So that leadership that I learned at Penn State, the foundation of that has been great as far as getting into leadership here, as far as connecting with people, helping drive to a single goal when there's different motivations out there. And then just even like the little things, right? Being 10 minutes early was on time, right? That's a whole nother story. You can talk about being 8 minutes early and being late, walking in that team. Everybody turns around like, what are you doing? So like things like that, right? The preparation, all of those things that I learned back then helped me become a great engineer, which then helped get me into a leadership position to get those promotions. Like a lot of those little things and pivoting and handling success, handling, hot fire situations when things need to be, changed on the fly. It's like those all go into my career now and helping me succeed now and where I'm at.
That's awesome stuff. And you mentioned leadership styles with coaching. We've had a lot of guys from the 2005-8, that time frame, come on, but we've never asked them about how that spread HD offense made Coach Bradley go crazy in practice. What was Scrap like in practice? Because that offense was impossible to stop. Did you guys get under his skin?
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah, we got under this, and I feel like there are a couple more replays. Oh, they're not going to do it. Like, oh, that was a sack. I feel like we always fight about if there was a sack or not, right? Like, 'cause you can't tackle a quarterback in practice. But No, I mean those are some good battles, man. And I mean that's what made us really good, right? Every time we went against each other, it was a battle. I remember, hey, it's going to be third and whatever, and they've got the sound blaring because we're about to play an away game. It's like, hey, it's third and whatever. This is the last play for practice. This is what it is. And whatever the play is, the defense won, the offense won. But it was somebody's going to try to replay it. Someone's going to have a little scrap. But like we were just really competitive at that point and really good, and we just made each other better at that point. And I think the coaches, they did it to each other as well, right? They were scheming against each other because just as much as Scrap wanted to beat, Ohio State and Northwestern or whoever, like he wanted to beat Jay in practice first. Right? And it was vice versa. We wanted to beat them in practice first before we went and beat somebody else. So we definitely, right, the iron sharpens iron there. And there were definitely a lot of good practice commotions going on. I'll say that.
Awesome. Well, we get glimpses of it still here with the show, Deon, getting these two guys going. But thanks so much for the time.